has been prioritized by the Kenyan press and give you an overview with our guests of what to know is that in terms of what is important to you, and as of course based on what the Kenyan media has deemed important. Of course, that is not all.
All right, and well, it is not too late to wish you a happy new month. It is the 3rd day of August 2020, but the 1st of August also marks the beginning of international flights, or the resumption of international flights in Kenya. We'll be looking at what does that exactly mean, particularly to the business community, now that we have the airwaves open. That and much more right here in Morning Express. But as usual, we welcome you to participate in the conversation, and we normally have your ticket as a question that we ask.
Yeah, we're asking you this morning, do you think the resumption of international flights will lead to a spike in COVID-19 infections? Do you think a resumption of international flights will lead to a spike in COVID-19 infections? Get on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever social media platform you prefer and tell us what you think about Trix Ingado. The hashtag to use is KTN Morning Express. Also tag Michael at Michael G. Getonga and let us know what you think on this one. Do you think the resumption of international flights will lead to a spike in COVID-19 infections? But far from that, let's take a look at the dailies. But joining me for that conversation is Honorable John Mutambo Fongama Mwingi Central Member of Parliament, as well as Canon Ambrose Wedder, who is a lawyer, joining us via Zoom. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, now let's take a look. Let's just get into it. The first story that I would like us to focus on is being covered both on the Daily Nation as well as the Standard. Now, on the Daily Nation, we are being told traders who made millions from COVID-19. In under 60 days, apparently Kenya secured 223 billion shillings as part of its COVID-19 containment measure, and it's part of the treasure chest, or rather the war chest as it's being put in the paper. And this was meant to aid in ensuring that we are well equipped as far as PPEs and other equipments are concerned, and ensure we get that, have those funds in order to procure this equipment, which was sparse at the time, at the beginning of all this. And of course, the biggest beneficiary apparently were those who were getting tenders to procure these materials. Now, the KEMSA Chief Executive Officer John Manjari has appeared before the Senate Health Committee did appear last month before the Senate Health Committee, and he had to explain why he was getting these equipment at way above the market value. We're being told they were going at 1,300 as opposed to the market value of 700 shillings. And the excuse that was being given, or the reason that was being given for this, is because it was a sparse commodity at the time, and at the same time they were airlifting these to the country as opposed to using ships and other modes of transportation because of the containment measures being put in place by various nations across the world. So things were difficult as far as the market is concerned, but now things have eased and it's not as difficult to procure them, and therefore the prices have gone down to what is normal. While on the Standard, we are being told the corona billionaires, a similar story but a different angle. We're being told why some businesses are thriving. Now, innovators, manufacturers, contractors and e-commerce individuals who shifted tack in doing their business have been able to actually weather the headwinds of coronavirus and succeed. So I'd start with you, Mr. Wedder, on this one. What do you make of the different angling of these stories and, of course, that heightened pricing of the PPEs?
Yeah, I think you will notice that the human being is very resilient. And when the corona came in, we were put to go around helter-skelter. But they are the big wigs, they are the businessmen, both in government and out of government. So at the time, it is true that the masks and so on, they became very expensive because they were in demand all over the world. And they were people didn't know we'll need them, and people did not know where to get them. But along the way, 6-7 months down the road, there are people who have schemed and continue to scheme, especially when you are purchasing things under emergency. When government is procuring things under emergency, the strict laws of procurement are not deeply followed. And that allows the tenderpreneurs themselves to make money at the expense of fellow Kenyans. But there are also other people making genuine money, For instance, those who are selling distant meeting software like the one we're using now, they are maintained because the King of Kings himself, God, said there are two sides to everything. There's even in death, there are two sides. So there's rest that you get, and then there's also the sorrow. So there are those who are stealing because they are taking advantage of the panic of the emergency situation. That there are those who are genuinely making money. And I would urge fellow Kenyans to know where is the opportunity. Because God says both sides, there is two sides to everything. There is yes and no, hot and cold, all like that. I would urge those who are stealing from us at these critical times that the blood of Kenyans will be on you even if you make money and become a billionaire.
Tambo, on that point that Mr. Weda has said, when there is an emergency, some of these procedures can be overlooked. For example, in some instances that have been pointed out in the Daily Nation, some of the businesses, the due diligence wasn't made in terms of trying to find out whether they have the right papers, the right amount of monies to invest in these particular ventures, and therefore they did take on certain tenders that they were not able to deliver on, and they didn't even have the kind of business history that would give confidence to an agency to say this person can actually handle this particular tender that we're giving them. Honorable Mutambo, what do you make of this?
Every situation comes with different scenarios.
Yes.
And my take is that any scrupulous business people would take an advantage, would take such advantage and try to milk Kenyans. Those who have worked their fingers to bones to make the money, and they will be there trying to make every extra coin. The sad thing is that it is happening in the government offices,
yes.
Because it is the government who is handling the situation of the COVID. This matter was not privately, and that is the sad thing. I'm sure when the coronavirus came in, I remember my discussion there with you and whether we asked ourselves questions whether we were ready, whether we were prepared. These were the kind of questions we were asking. Is the government prepared to tackle this? And preparedness is not to get the sick people, it's also to acquire the equipment and the medicine and the PE and the rest, how to deal with it. And how to deal with it comes with a cost. And the preparedness, my thinking is, how are you going to handle the cost effect, or what will affect, how Kenyans will be affected with this COVID? And it is quite unfortunate because those who have been given opportunity to be in the offices or to be in those offices, they are colluding with the business people to make money out of poor Kenyans. It is hard to get money nowadays, but Kenyans are paying through their nose, and people are merciless, I would say so. It is very true that the price have been hiked too high, and the excuses are there. They are taking advantage also of our law, because in our laws, in our procurement laws, there's that aspect of emergency procurement, whereby you do not need to advertise, or you don't need to follow the Procurement Act, and then you have to call your cousin or your brother to tell them, you know what, there's an opportunity here, bring this PE equipment, bring this medicine, bring gloves, and you give them at any price, because there's nobody who's there will be no tender committee which will evaluate the amount of money you have quoted. So this is the problem we are facing, and it is quite unfortunate.
Yeah, and Honorable Mutambo, just on that, do you think then, as far as the people who profited from this particular schedule concerned, do you think the government did all it can to shift gears and ensure that we are actually making getting some sort of profit out of it? For example, setting up industries for young people, rather manufacturing plants to manufacture masks and etc. Do you think the government acted swiftly, even when you look at devolution and local grassroots governments? Do you think they did enough to ensure that they make the most out of this, despite it being quite negative?
You know, apart from masks, we don't know what to manufacture. The only thing we know what is used in the COVID is mask, gloves, and PE equipment. The rest is medicine, and we do not know what kind of medicine is available for COVID. The government has remained mum. I remember when we were arguing, Mutaikagwe to tell us what he's doing with the patients who are recovering. What are you giving out there so that we can go to the chemist and buy if we feel unwell? But it has become very difficult to get that information. So Kenyans are busy just making masks and making gloves and the protective equipment, nothing more. So if there was the comprehensive information of what is required for the COVID, even including making that lemon juice, people would go a step ahead and maybe set up some factories to make these things, but they are not there. The information is not there. Information is power. Kenyans have not been equipped with the information of COVID. The only thing we are told is quarantine, wear a mask, and sit at home, and don't. I mean, observe social distance. So the government has spent a lot of money on campaign of COVID. The government has succeeded in telling people what they need to do so that not to get the COVID. So the protocols are given out, and we are aware now. The campaign has been loud in all media houses, in all media papers. The government has done much, but in terms of industry, to make industry out of COVID, I think the government of Kenya has not taken the opportunity to do so.
Mr. Weda, what is your take on that? How we have handled as a country this scourge, and of course whether or not we have taken sufficient advantage of the opportunities that come with it?
Yeah, for me, I think the government has done fairly well. When the scourge came out, we didn't know what to do. And slowly along the way from Wuhan in December to Nairobi in August, a lot of knowledge has been developed, a lot of wisdom has come. And I recall that at the beginning, a mask was about 200 Kenya shillings, this surgical masks, but now it is 30 shillings, it is 20 shillings. It is not for the government to establish businesses, but it's for the innovative Kenyans. And Kenyans have not failed. They have not missed it. They have actually indeed made sure that they have moved in line. But there are other things like medical equipment and so on. I think where government we hear, I have no direct evidence, but we hear that some people have taken a chance to dip their hands in the jars, and people also have disappeared with certain things and that they're selling at private level. But the way we have come out in terms of entrepreneurship, I really think that we have done fairly well, and it is not the business of government to set up industries, but it is their business to facilitate the setting up of some of these industries so that young people, businessmen can take into account the advantages that accrue with the coming of the corona. As I said before, there are two sides. There's the bad side that corona kills. There's the bad side that we are quarantined and so on. But there's also the good side. There's also the fact that a few things have changed for the better. So looking at it overall, I would say that what the government has done, save for the thefts, has been fairly commendable. And if people keep on gathering knowledge, it's not for the government to collect knowledge for you, to collect information and to parent you around. It is your duty to find out exactly what is going on. The knowledge is out there. World Health Organization is talking every day. International news, doctors, all these people have been pouring information day and night. We have an avalanche of information that is upon every Kenyan who is desirous of knowing or moving forward to get this. But if you say that government will do everything, I can tell you they are busy minting the COVID money. They don't know whether you are dead or alive. They don't have to care. It is how much they make. Just a few people, the president, maybe the cabinet, and these others that care. But the average person in the civil service, they don't give a hoot whether you're making money or dying in your house.
Right. Now, we will be keeping an eye on this one, and obviously I'm sure the papers shall be keeping us updated on how this all transpires and what is deciphered as what should have happened or the wrongdoings that happened. But far from that, the period in the run-up to 2022 was seen as a legacy period for the president. And the Daily Nation, or rather the Standard this morning, is telling us about inside the last 735 days as president. Now, we're being told that the coronavirus is slowly eating away at President Kenyatta's little time left, because this was considered a time for him to set up his legacy, and things such as the Big Four agenda and the BBI were seen as the blueprints to getting to an ideal situation where he would hand off with a quite decent legacy. Now, we're told here, running out of time, and some of the elements that have come out according to this top story is the corona headache, the Big Four agenda, cohesion, balance, and succession politics. What do you make of this analysis being made by the Standard this morning, and how can the president maybe actually work with these difficulties, Mr. Weda?
Thank you so much. I think it is true that the time is running out. Unfortunately, corona came in between and has taken a chunk of attention, a chunk of resources, and has shrunk the economy, so that by the time the president may be preparing to leave, you will find there is so much to work against, to look at in terms of negative things which have happened. But looking at it, I think also the president went into the handshake, which was a good idea, which was very good. And then along the way, they introduced this BBI and the dance, the reggae. And a lot of energy, a lot of attention has been shifted towards reggae and dancing. That had it not been for the corona, I think we'd be doing more reggae than the 4 agenda items that was said to be done. Affordable, quality healthcare, food security, creation of jobs. We forgot this along the way. But the most worrying thing is that my president, whom I love so much, I really, really trusted and believe that he will leave a united, prosperous Kenya. But along the way, when the handshake team came in and Honorable Oira came and introduced Reagan, they introduced another war front. So whereas maybe the Luo nation and the president's nation, we may be dancing together, but we have introduced another chunk, and that will be another sore, a wound that may take very long to heal. So I would think that dealing with corona, the president has done well, but there must be a quick movement to do at least one of the 4 agenda items that we'll be able to see. Infrastructure is going on well, but not as well as to be able to say this is the Uhuru administration achieved. We will be talking more about the reggae, which has been put than major achievement. But I know the time remaining, if a lot of work is being put in, there will be something to celebrate.
And I do believe the universe has chosen for the administration health, I would imagine would be the easy option to run with in this particular, given the circumstances that we are facing.
I think infrastructure will work very well if the president runs with it. But the easiest way is to be organized so that national integration, peace and stability is restored by himself embracing everybody, embracing his deputy. It does not turn out that he has betrayed his deputy, embracing Honorable Raila, embracing Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. We come up, even if we were to do part of our constitution, a constitution that puts the Kenyan families together, not one that excludes us. So that is workable. National cohesion is easily workable. Here, the economy can be easily stabilized despite the effects of the COVID as the ongoing infrastructural works are taking place. What I know will not be easy to achieve is creation of employment and so on and so forth. Affordable, quality healthcare, that is also achievable because these are policy interventions, financial interventions, and it requires a bit of it. Some of these too can be done, and it requires people who eat less but work harder. So there is still hope for the president. But if he continues also kicking the deputy president here and there, dancing with the reggae people on the other side, and then the Kalenjin nation feeling they've been left out, and the Luos thinking they're in government, and the Louis are thinking they are being divided, then it will be worse than when Kibaki left. And I pray and I know that wisdom will prevail. My president is a brilliant, focused man, and it will work. I continue remembering in prayer. That's why we point out these things, so that he also changes course. I also pray for Honorable Raila to recover quickly, come back to the scene, but come with a fresh focus, not of kicking people, the people dancing reggae, but uniting Kenya into a prosperous
Mr. Weda, I would
nation.
like to bring in Honorable Mutambo in this conversation. Now, Honorable Mutambo, what do you make of the legacy and the head that the president might be able to make at the end of this all, and of course, the headwinds that he's facing?
One of the things I would wish to see is president to achieve his goals. Remember, I was his chief campaigner in Ukambani, and I promised people a lot. And I know the expectation of Kenyans, not only people from Ukambani, are too high. And for him to achieve what he promised to people, he must achieve at least one or two things. But above all, he must leave a united nation, because if there's peace in the country, Kenyans will forget a lot of things. But if there's no peace in the country, if he leaves a divided country, Kenyans will keep on reminding him, even if he flies out of this country, Kenyans will keep on reminding him, you promised us as this and that, and you left us in a very big problem, you left us in a quagmire, and this may be a problem for his legacy. The Big Four agenda to achieve with the 700 days left, to me, I don't think it is 700 days. It is less than 700. It's about 300. I'll tell you the 360 days, the 1 year will be a campaign mode. When and I will throw ourselves to the field next year, you'll find us out there doing, trying to reintroduce ourselves to people, because we also want to fight for our seats. And same will happen to the other officers who are in the offices. So I really pity my president, because I don't know how he's going to achieve this with a few days remaining and with the COVID between us. The issue of the BBI, which he also hoped so much it will come and pass and implement what he thought God has come up with this COVID. And we need to reflect, what is God telling us? Why is this COVID came in between when he wanted to achieve all this? So as much as we love him, we need to tell him the truth, that there is a lot in between him and the newfound handshake partners, because what we are seeing now is the friendship of arm twisting. We have had all sort of name callings. We have had all sort of, if you don't do this, we will not do that. If you don't, we have just had Badi saying that they are going back to the street because Jubilee is not serious. That is one statement which made me feel so bad. And then Ruku Kagata, on the other hand, saying, if this is not passed, no BBI. So those statements are very worrying. And I don't know where they will leave the president. So the problem is the people who are surrounding the president and his newfound handshake team. Are they genuine, his friends? That is the question we need to be asking ourselves. And are they the people who can help him achieve what he wanted to achieve, the four big agenda, to achieve or uniting the country, like he is saying? Is he going to leave a united country, or it will be more divided than he thought? So there are so many questions than answers. Yeah. And I think he is walking on a tight rope. And as a friend to him, I would advise him all the time and tell him, you need to watch carefully how you are moving, because I don't see sincereness with the people who are surrounding him. They are not telling him the truth, and they are not doing the right thing. They are saying this at night, but at daytime they are doing the opposite. Or they do say this at night, and when it comes at night time, they do the opposite. And it is very dangerous trade. Yes. A scenario where a lot of coalition will come up next year, and that will leave him isolated, will leave him alone, because people will be busy trying to find their way out for the future. And as per the constitution we have today, unless it is changed, the president is retiring. There's nothing much he can get with the current constitution, unless we change the constitution. So the be geared towards, if you want to be somewhere or influential in the next government, the constitution must be changed. But if it is not changed, it is the way it is, and we go to election the way it is, I will tell you, President Uhuru Kenyatta will get a lot of underpaid votes.
Yes, and this morning we're being told the SGR, according to the standard, the SGR and the handshake and some of his top achievements, and of course the blots to his legacy include the NYS scandal, Eurobond, mobile clinics scam, implementation of the 2010 Constitution, executive interference of the judiciary, implementation of the TJRC report, devolution, the delay in and withholding of funds due to counties, as well as the Big Four agenda that has not been fully actualized. So hopefully he will figure out a way and what to prioritize as we move forward. But to know more, you take a look at page 4 and 5 of the Standard newspaper to get into that. But just briefly on the coronavirus, it would be remiss for us not to mention this, and I'll start, just give us a brief statement, Mr. Mutambo, on where this story on the Daily Nation, where we're being told that young people are increasingly succumbing to the coronavirus. Why young people are succumbing to the coronavirus? Initially, a lot of them believed that we could actually not be caught up in this, but then clearly not.
I think it is because of ignorance. You know, I remember very well when the coronavirus came into play, we were treated to narratives that it is affecting the older people. And you know our youth, how they are. They disrespect everything, and they go out there. You go out to the street, you'll find so many of them without observing the protocols, and it's like they have to be forced to follow the protocols. So maybe it is hitting them so hard, and before they realize, or before their parents realize that they are affected, it has eaten to them. So to me, I think it's because of ignorance. We ignored this thing. We never took it seriously, despite Mutaigawe being on media on every day, and the government putting all the effort to advocate on the protocols to be followed. Ignorance has played a major role into this, and we also need to understand that the youth is in a bracket of the eye-infected people with the communicable diseases. We are told that when you have other diseases, it is also likely to take you down very easily, other than the person who has got no other diseases. So this may be a combination of all those. And to me, I would advise the young people not to take this thing lightly, to take the advice with the most precautions they can. This is not for the government. I am not supposed to wear a mask because of police. I'm supposed to wear a mask because of myself and my fellow Kenyans. So we have to protect one another to get rid of this coronavirus.
Thank you very much, Honorable Joe Mutambo, for your sentiments on press review. We're going to let you go, but as we come back, we shall have a new element of discussion, the way it is, as we take a look at what has made headlines over the weekend, and we're asking you to be a part of the conversation. I'd like to release Honorable Joe Mutambo from the conversation. Thank you so much for your sentiments, but of course you can be a part of this one by answering this question. Do you think the resumption of international flights will lead to a spike in COVID-19 infections? Michael, what do you have to say about the upcoming segment?
Well, we are preparing to see what difference does it make that now there's a resumption of international flights. Of course, we do know that there are certain protocols that have been put in place, but what does that mean for the business sector? How does that help the economy? We do have the CS for Transport, Honorable Macharia, saying that it is bound to open up the economy. So we'd like to look at the nitty-gritties of that and find out how does that exactly help. And of course, SMEs are bound to benefit. The tourism industry is one that we're looking up to. So that's all coming up right here on Morning Express. So for now, we take a short break. When we come back, let's continue with the discussion. Remember that question. We'd like to hear what your take is on the resumption of flights.
This is KTN News. Are you a corporate organization?